Good morning. God, looks like it's about to piss it down and rain again. Am I really surprised? No, because this is Norwich. But of course you didn't come here to find out about what city I'm in. No, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Hainault attack. So I want to talk about the man, I think his name was Marcus Aurelio or Dylan or whatever the bloody hell the rest of his name is. I don't care, I'm just going to call him Marcus, which unfortunately is also a friend of mine's boyfriend. Anyway, this is not about the boyfriend though. This is about the English-Spanish individual. I believe that was what they called him. I think it was dual nationality. The white person who ended up getting a hold of a sword, who ended up brutally murdering a 14-year-old, I wouldn't say black, but I'd say tanned, schoolboy, basically. His crimes are reprehensible. The man who killed him, not the boy, of course. But you already knew that. But at the end of the day, what this dual nationality prick has done is unforgivable. And some people have been begging the question, should we be banning machetes, knives, and all that stuff? Well, I will say this much. I think there does need to be more stop and search, because at the end of the day, young children shouldn't feel like they need to hold a knife to feel safe. That's like if I was to stand out here in the rain right now and say, I want a cardboard box because it will keep my head dry. Yeah, but it won't keep the box dry, will it? But I digress. The point of all this, I think stop and search needs to be drastically increased. You know, the thing that Sadiq Khan kept on trying to basically remove for his whole time in office. Yeah, that's stop and search. But I think it's not just that needs to be changed. I think something similar to what we do with guns right now needs to also be applied, because I know it's not the weapons themselves that do the crimes. Like, if I'm holding a knife right now and I go ahead and stab someone else, it's not the knife that's responsible for the crime, it's me. Likewise, for anybody who goes around and basically stabs someone to death, again, the knife, the machete, the sword, the popsicle stick, whatever the bloody hell it is that's being used to stab someone, the object is not the problem. It's the person behind it. It's just like with guns in America. But that is something, of course, the mainstream media don't want to tell you about, because they want to do anything and everything they can to ban guns in America. Likewise, they want to do anything and everything they can to stop us, the indigenous people, from having a means to at least be able to defend ourselves. Why else do you think they took away our guns? But this isn't about our gun crime or gun control. This is about what do we do about knives and whatnot, and swords. Well, I think, as said, alongside stop and search, I think we need to apply the same strict testing for knives that we do with guns. We need to make sure the people who are buying these knives are of sane mind. I know it's funny as well that they often replace knives in shops with with basically these cards, from what I understand, because I had to go to a shop and get myself some bloody razors, and they were on a card rather than be able to just pick one straight up. I guess I can understand why they're doing it, because in a sense, if they are able to dismantle the blades in the razors, I guess then they could use them to self-harm, they could use them to commit crimes, they could use them to create weapons, that kind of thing. So I do kind of understand why they're doing it, but I just think it's more like a nanny state more than anything, which is exactly what Britain is right now. But we need to deal with the problem of knife crime. And it's not the knives themselves, it's the people behind them. And of course it also comes a little bit down to parenting as well. If people had stronger figures in their lives, and I'm not talking about David Hasselhoff or Arnold Schwarzenegger. Anyway, if you had a stronger figure in your life, he'd probably steer you clear from knives. I didn't really need all that much steering away. I mean, after all, I nearly set my fucking house on fire when I lived with my mum and dad, when they left their cigarette papers and what have you sitting on the coffee table. Oh, that was funny. Setting the house on fire at 2 years old. That would be funny. Matthew does jail in fucking Scotland prison because he set the house on fire. That would be bloody brilliant. Oh, God. Those are the good old days. Obviously, it's not about setting the house on fire. It's about knives and all that. But I think if we had more of the strict controls, the psychological tests and what have you, to make sure people are of mentally sane mind to be able to have those, I think it would be a good start, quite frankly. Because then you couldn't just have any Tom, Dick and Harry waltz in and say, "I'd like a knife, please." Yes, they have kind of helped it a little bit with needing photo ID, but really it's not really that much of a resolution for anybody who's over 18. Like, if you're 18 up or 21 up or whatever, then the photo ID is a piece of piss to get past. Whereas a psychological test is much more difficult to get around, because they are asking you questions about how you think, how your mind basically acts, how it works. So I think that would help a little bit as far as the knife crimes are concerned. But a strong father figure, I think, and if all else fails, a strong mother figure as well, needs to come in and basically be like, even a slap across the face if necessary, and be like, do not play with knives, do not carry knives in the streets. Basically set a very firm, I guess, line in the sand that says, if you do this, you will be severely punished. Likewise, I think if we've gone up through all the preparation and people are still able to bring out knives into this country and onto the streets, then we need to think about how we're going to deal with those who are doing it anyway. And I think the most effective way is a short, sharp shock. 10 years in prison for a knife. Hell, you could even say 50 if you wanted to. Set a very clear boundary that says, if you bring a knife on the streets, you will be treated with the utmost of contempt. I think that would be a very effective way at deterring people, because 10 years is a long time. 10 years isn't just, oh, I'm going to pop in for an appointment at the job centre, or I'm going to go around a friend's house and just spend the day with him. No, 10 years is a very, very long time. And this is probably going to be a bit of a hot take as well. I wouldn't discriminate as far as children and adults are concerned. If anybody is caught with a knife, be it child or adult, 10 years. No exceptions. We need to set clear boundaries, clear standards that say, if you bring a knife, you will pay the price. If you bring a knife and endanger our people, you will be treated as if you were a threat. Because why the hell should we cater these people? And here's something else as well, and this is something that a lot of people are not going to like. But what we found is that, especially in London, over 50% of the knife crimes that were committed, I believe it was either in 2021 or 2022, something like that, they were committed by predominantly black people. It's just ironic that this person with the sword was a white. But it does not make it any less condemnable. Let's be clear on that much. And I would treat the attacker with the same contempt and condemn him all the same, whether he was a Muslim, whether he's a Christian, whether he's English, Spanish, whether he's anything. Because knife crime cares not for creed, colour, or what sex you are. It only cares about whether you've done it. But you'll find that the knife crime committed by black people, ironically, most of it is actually done on black on black, is what we find. But yeah, that's basically what it boils down to. It boils down to, we need very strong methods of control. Banning the weapons is not the solution. Stop and search would help, but ultimately we need controls to be able to say, if you do this, you will pay the price. Because after all, we've got to behave like responsible adults. That's the only way we're going to get through to these people. We're not going to do it if we're like, oh, well, the knives are the problem. No, people are the problem. I can't stress this enough. It's like the gun problem in America. It's not the guns, it's the people behind them. Because after all, if I've got a gun, I almost feel like I'm holding one now. Anyway, if you've got a gun, the gun's not going to pull the trigger itself. You have to apply that little bit of force. What is it, 9 pounds of pressure or something like that? I'm trying to remember it from the Equalizer 2. Something like that. But basically, it is not the weapons, it's the people behind them. And we need strict ways of dealing with it. And I think if we start saying, if you carry a knife on the streets, if we find you carrying a knife on the streets through stop and search, then you'll have to pay for it with 10 years of your life. And I think a lot of people will be very strongly deterred by that, because nobody is going to want to give up their childhood, and nobody is going to want to give up 10 years of their younger life, because those young years we have, they're all we have. I regret that I didn't have many, I should say, decent young years in my life because of all the life things that I've went through. But this isn't about woe is me. This is about setting a message for young people who want to bring knives on the streets. And I think the only way we're going to be able to solve this issue is if we stop putting on the nanny gloves and start putting on iron gauntlets. We need to take an iron fist approach as far as this is concerned, because that is the only way you are going to stop more cases like the Hainault attack, which tragically took the life of an innocent 40-year-old boy.